Anyango, I was getting carried away. I was already starting to, to dance.
Yes.
Hey, Nango.
Vera henya toitinade.
I just know berenya kabisa.
Kabisa.
You'll teach me, Tholuo.
Okay.
Now, good evening. Welcome to KTN Friday Briefing. I was, getting carried away by Anyango. Now, my name is Bessie Kialo, and you are?
Yes, and my name is Anyango. Actually, I am Japanese, but I play instruments from Africa called Nyatitit. Jina ingine ni kambanane.
I like how you speak Swahili.
Really? Thank you so much.
Jina ingine ni kambanane.
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 8 strings.
All right. Yes. Now, she is the world's first female Nyatitit player. Can you imagine that? High five for that.
Thank you so much.
Yeah?
Thank you.
How did you start?
It's long history.
Oh, it's a long history. So you tell us about it. So this is the Nyatitit for those who do not have it. Maybe you can just like all right. Yeah, so we have a lot lined up on the show. She's our guest anchor, and we also have the latest news updates. Welcome to KTN Friday Briefing. Our sign language interpreter is William Silla. Now, the National Transport and Safety Authority has suspended the license of Nazigi Sacco after one of its public service vehicles was implicated in the stripping of a woman passenger in Githurai. A Nairobi court has ordered the driver and conductor of the vehicle linked to the sexual harassment to be detained at Kasarani Police Station for 21 days pending investigations. Patrick Amimo has these details.
Driver Nicholas Chege and his conductor Mesha Kumboro were arraigned in a Nairobi court after their public service vehicle was linked to a sexual harassment incident early this week. On Thursday, officers from the anti-stripping police unit impounded the minibus that plies Githurai 44 route and operates under Nazigi Sacco. A video footage of the incident shows the woman pleading with the attackers not to rape or insert a bottle into her private parts. The court directed the 2 bus crew members to be detained at Kasarani Police Station pending investigations. The prosecution said the suspects may be charged with robbery with violence in addition to the sexual offenses.
We have asked the court to hold the suspects for another 21 days while investigations go on, so that also the lady can then be able to present herself. At the moment, we know that she must or might be feeling embarrassed about the whole situation, but there's not much more embarrassment than what has been exposed at this particular moment.
In a swift move, the National Transport and Safety Authority has cracked the whip on a fleet of 243 vehicles registered under Nazigi Sacco that operate in Githurai along Thika Road, Zimmerman, Kahawa West route.
With immediate effect, the authority hereby suspends the license of Nazigi Sacco, which means that the operations of all the 243 vehicles must be grounded and are hereby suspended. The public is hereby advised to avoid boarding these vehicles operating under this Sacco to avoid any inconvenience.
The Minister of Devolution, National Police Service, Matatu Owners Association, Director of Public Prosecutions, the Directorate of Criminal Investigations and Mandera Massacre have agreed on stringent rules to curb stripping.
Any violation that starts from now, if it happens in your Matatu, we will take action against that driver unless they participated in stopping it, including the owners of the Matatus, so that they can hold their drivers accountable. And Matatu owners will be blacklisted and prevented from continuing to engage in business. In other words, it happens in your Matatu, that Matatu is grounded, the Sacco action is taken against it, we also ground the Sacco.
Elsewhere, the 6 men who allegedly undressed and sexually assaulted a woman in Nairobi's Kayole estate reappeared before Makadara Principal Magistrate Victor Wakumile to plead to charges. The 6 are charged with indecently assaulting a woman along Mihango stage in Nairobi's Kayole estate. They have been denied bail until the case is mentioned next week on the 2nd of December. Cliff Mbita has been appointed by the Law Society of Kenya to prosecute all suspects stripping and molesting women. He appealed to all victims who have been forcefully undressed to come forward and record statements and assured they'll be protected.
They don't necessarily have to appear in face. They can be able to be protected. They can speak from behind screens, or they shall be covered, or they shall be secured in a room that they don't have to be exposed to the members of the public.
An administration policeman was on Sunday arrested and charged for stripping a woman in Komaroke State, Nairobi.
Our procedure is that once he appears in court, he will be interdicted, and then until the case is over. If he is convicted, then he loses his job.
Waiguru warned Kenyans against posting videos of women being stripped on the internet, saying they risk arrest and prosecution. Patrick Amimo, KTN, Friday Briefing.
The suspension of Nazigi Sako is definitely great progress, and that leads us to our big question tonight. And we're asking, do you support the suspension of the 243 vehicles belonging to the Nazigi Sako over the stripping incident? That's our question tonight. Do you support that suspension to have 243 vehicles belonging to the Nazigi Sako off our roads? That's our big question tonight. The number is 22155, but you can also tweet me at Betty Callow, or better still, use the hashtag Friday Briefing. Now to some more unfortunate news. A middle-aged man in Umoja Estate was rescued by administration police after an angry mob pounced on him for allegedly sexually harassing a minor. The man, who coaches a soccer team of boys aged between 5 and 15 years, confessed to his crime after the boy reported him to his parents. Mashirima Kapombe reports.
The crowd baying for the blood of this man was left peeping into the room where he was taken by police after he was rescued. The man was beaten up by angry residents of Umoja Estate after a young boy accused him of sodomy, an accusation he did not deny.
Alikuwa anatafuta brother yangu, nikamwambia yuko, akaingia atikona game ya Chelsea. Takuingia kanishika mkono akanitoa nguo.
The suspect, who was frog-marched to the chief's office and later to the police station, is reported to have sodomized the boy while his parents were away. But it seemed he underestimated the boy's courage. The child told his parents what he had been through in the hands of a man he knew.
Asubuhi nilitoka, lakini kurudi nilikuja na Kiswahili, nikadanganya kijana kwamba ninajua ni nini ile walikuwa wanafanya jana. Kwa hivyo asiponiambia itakuwa ni vibaya sana. Ndio akanieleza jana huyo coach wake, huyo Dunga, alikuwa amemshika, akamtoa nguo, alafu have sex na yeye, akamsodomize.
But that was not all. Other parents who had placed their children under his care in a local football team came out to explain that some of them were aware of his actions and had pulled their children out of the team.
Mtoto alisema akaacha ball. Sasa huwa anamfuata paka shule.
Timu yake mimi niko player wake. Sasa ndo akaanza kunifanyia tabia, ndo nikaambia budangu akanitoa.
The suspect is being held at the Buruburu police station and is expected to be arraigned at Makadara Law Courts next week. Mashirima Kapombe, KTN Friday Briefing.
Terrible. Now moving on to other stories. The ranking of schools and students, which has defined the announcement of national examinations in the past, has been abolished. In a circular from the Ministry of Education, PS Belios Kipsang says there will be regular review and recasting of school performance, merit measuring, and therefore ranking of schools and students on the basis of national examinations will be withdrawn with immediate effect. The rules are part of a series of measures that the Ministry of Education has issued to guide the management of secondary schools. The circular provides guidance on registration of new schools, management of school finances, procurement of goods and services, and on recruitment of non-teaching staff. Furthermore, county education boards have been advised against registering any new schools without prior approval by the Cabinet Secretary in charge of education. Now, the late Senator for Homabay County, Gerald Otieno Kajwang, was laid to rest in a colorful but mostly politically charged event in Mbita. Catherine Omwanto reports.
As Luo traditions dictate, when an elder dies, his fellow elders must enter the home with a spear and shield, ready to challenge death itself. After Raila Odinga did this, the crowd broke into song and dance, a celebration of the life of a man who could rally up a crowd with just a tune. Hundreds came to mourn with Kajuang's family, including his wife Rose and their 2 children and 2 grandchildren.
I met Gerald in 1982. I was on a bus, a young girl going to work, and a nice man, tall, slender. Of course, he had very black skin and very white teeth.
Of course, the funeral ceremony of a politician cannot continue without a little politics, and it seemed clear who the Coalition for Reforms and Democracy wants to succeed Kajuang.
Look at this. Ebona hii ni kolabo ama si kolabo? Hii kolabo ni ya nguvu ama si ya nguvu? We want to diffuse power. We want to rearrange power. We want to reorganize power.
Even as political temperatures were high, some CORD members were keen to question the cause of Kajuang's sudden death.
Kajuang has died in the line of duty, and I'm still repeating. I do not believe in many things. One of the things that I don't believe in is the cause of death of Honorable Kajuang.
When my face shall be sight.
Preliminary autopsy results suggest that Kajuang died of heart failure. However, medical tests show that he did have broken ribs, a fractured sternum, and his stomach lining was corroded. Further tests are being done in South Africa. Catherine Omwando, KTN.
It was quite a befitting send-off for the charismatic leader. Well, you know, here on Friday Briefing, we like to hear your views on the different stories that we air and any other feedback you may have about the show. So here are different platforms that you can get me with. First, the hashtag of the show is Friday Briefing, which is a simple way to interact. You might as well tweet me directly at Betty Kialo, or if you prefer Facebook, the page, of course, is KTN Kenya. Remember, we also have an SMS number, so drop us a line on 22155. It's always great to hear from you in regards to the stories that we air, including the one of the late Otieno Kajwang. Let's now move on to other news. Well, at a time President Uhuru Kenyatta's administration has come under heavy criticism from the public over the handling of security matters, the president's strategic communications team has moved to counter Uhuru's critics. But in so doing, is a presidential strategic communication unit in fact communicating an image crisis within government? Well, that's the question the Samogena has.
A two-pronged Twitter campaign right from State House is the president's tactic to hush the evaluation of critics on his administration. Hashtag My President, My Choice and hashtag Kenya is Me are the latest communication stunts by the president's communications team to deflect the heat government has been receiving lately. But is that defense an admission to an apparent image crisis within government?
The president would rather be criticized than be immersed in a bowl of shiny oil to make him look good. He is a believer that criticism builds and does not destroy. He is also a believer that progressive criticism is far much better than just criticism for the sake of it.
Government image has been battered, especially after security incidents of Kapedo and the latest one, the Mandera bus attack. The administration taking flak for an apparent laxity in security. The executive has been criticized as a talk shop offering lip service at the expense of innocent lives lost.
Na tutachukua hatua pia for those in the security forces who may fail in their responsibility.
Begging the question, if the president is fully aware of laxity within his administration's top cops, how many more lives should be lost before a substantive action?
Unless we as citizens work together with our security forces, all the things that we're talking about will never happen. So the responsibility lies first and foremost with you and me.
To sanitize and insulate the president, The Presidential Strategic Communications team says the online campaign is intended to provoke the sense of patriotism within Kenyans and also reflect the administration's achievements.
There are specific deliverables that have been done, and that is why we are saying he is my president, he is my choice, because he is doing what is right. And that hashtag is not targeted to have a conversation around elections. It's targeted to have a conversation around achievements in his days of power.
But the campaign provoked Kenyans, dividing them right in the middle, attracting both proponents and opponents. On Twitter, at Makotani tweets, RIP strategic communication and effective crisis management, while at Tony Kagiri writes, what the president's men are doing with hashtags isn't PR, it is publicity. PR enhances relationships. The Jubilee government, in staging the hashtag battle online, is living to its billing of being as digital as it can get. Samugina, KTN.
Now, two sisters who were killed in Saturday's massacre in Mandera were buried today at their family home in Kieni, Nyeri County. The sisters, who perished alongside 26 other Kenyans, were laid to rest as the Mandera County Governor Ali Roba revealed there will be a fund to assist the victims. Families offset the burial expenses. Carol Nderi has the story.
Always excellent, while human beings from the Mr. Matatu is going to whenever recall the way you kept
hakuna mwalimu yeyote anakayeruhusiwa na chama chetu kurejea katika sehemu ambapo walimu wanauawa bure kama mbuzi.
Hao watu wote ambao wanahusika na mambo ya usalama, kama hawatachukuliwa hatua na serikali yetu, hata sisi tutaanza kuuliza rais wetu maswali sasa. Tutaanza kumuuliza maswali.
We know how painful it is for this area to lose two people from the same family, from senseless killing of some people we don't know.
Mimi naomba rais kama rafiki yake, kama anaweza wasikiza sasa wa Kenya, manake sisi tunalia, na sana sana hata sisi ambao tunamuunga mkono sana, afanye what we call a reshuffle to his cabinet,
ambao wanaua watu wetu wachapwe marisasi wamalizwe kabisa. Na hao watu wanasema ati human rights, wacha waseme, wacha waendelee na kusema. When their sisters or their brothers are killed, we will see how far they will talk about human rights.
And the government has now issued a formal date for the switch off of analog TV. The government wants the process of digital migration to start on the 31st of December here in Nairobi. Well, the three media houses that have challenged the government's handling of this process, however, want at least 4 more months to comply, since they have only just been issued with a signal distribution license. They are also challenging the government's decision to allocate nearly 2/3 of all the country's frequencies to a foreign company.
A long battle that ended in the Supreme Court, the government has now set the date for digital migration to begin.
We have come to a point where we are commencing digital migration. This has been a long and contracted process, but one which we have no choice to embrace given the global digital migration of June 2015. It is noteworthy that other countries in the region have migrated, and Kenya, having been a leader in ICT sector, must not lag behind.
But the three media houses that went to court in the first instance to challenge the manner in which the government was implementing the process are challenging the new date. This is because the Standard Group, the Nation Media Group, and Royal Media have just been awarded a license for signal distribution, and 1 month simply won't be enough to roll out the requisite infrastructure.
We want to be able to carry our own content through our own set of boxes and through our own infrastructure, which means we need to invest in set-top boxes, have them manufactured, airlifted to Kenya, and distributed. We also need to invest in transmitters. honestly, unless we perform a miracle, it is not possible within 30 days. That is why our request to the authority, and we've written to them, I think, to allow us time, at the very least, 4 months, to put our infrastructure in place so that we can carry our own content.
Punk, Star Times, have had more than 3 years to roll out their network. Similarly, Signet have had more than 3 years to roll out their network. Pursuant to the guidelines by the Supreme Court, and I can read what the Supreme Court said at some stage, we have managed to get the license. We have therefore, and again, we've written with great humility to CAK that we request time until the 30th of April. It will give us 5 months to roll out our network and any other infrastructure that is required to self-carry our signals.
The 3 media houses are also concerned that out of the 190 frequencies on the digital platform, 120 have been allocated with Chinese company Pan-African Network Group.
DG, we fault you and the entire government for what has happened in this whole frequency distribution exercise. 63% to Pan, a company from China, in a country which has some of the highest investments in media industry in Africa. You can't explain this with a clear conscience. This is wrong. 63% and 10%, or is it 5% to us, the local fraternity? This is an arrangement that is not acceptable.
According to the Director General CAK, Francis Wangusi, the permit given to the 3 media houses will allow broadcasters to build infrastructure in 10 key locations ahead of the switch-off. Matiang'i acknowledges that outstanding issues remain.
Kenya shall implement analog switch-off in 3 phases as follows. Phase 1, to switch off on 31st December 2014, covering Nairobi and its environs. Phase 2, to be switched off on 2nd February 2015. Phase 3, to be switched off on 30th March 2015.
We have wasted a lot of time as an industry. We have fought battles that we didn't fight. Let us not fight anymore. Let's spend the next 6 months, 3 to 6 months, working together to make sure that this is a smooth process.
There have also been concerns that most consumers do not yet have the set-top boxes to receive the digital signal in their homes. The government says the cost of the set-top boxes will be lowered. Media houses have emphasized that they are not opposed to digital migration since their very business models depend on it. They are now hoping for more dialogue to resolve the issues so that the process can proceed smoothly. Now, Otieno Kajwang, Friday Briefing.
We now take a short commercial break, but let me let you in on what else is making the show tonight. Now, my guest anchor, as you have seen, is one of a kind. She is not just Kenyan. She's not Kenyan by blood, actually, but she's Kenyan by music, as you've heard. Now, she's the first female Nyatitit player, and I repeat this because it's wonderful and it's amazing. Now, you want to stick around for more of her. She'll be teaching me a thing or two about playing the Nyatiti and even, dancing to a couple of songs there. All right. Now sit here. Keti hapa. Okay. There. Good. So let me fix this on you. There we go. So, Simona vile nimekuwa nikisoma news tangu tuanze.
Sawa, nianze.
Kwa hivyo sasa ujiintroduce wewe ni nani? Alafu sasa uende ni ile story pale usome.
Asante sana. Mimi jina langu ni Anyango. My name is Anyango. I come from Japan. Jina ukweli ni Eriko Mukoyama, lakini mchezaji wa Nyatitit kamba 8. Hiyo ni instrument ya kimila ya Wajaluo. Asante sana, nashukuru Erokamano. Sasa wacha nisome news ya leo. 40 inmates of Kamiti Maximum Prison today graduate with a diploma in theological or students. It was a day of great joy and laughter as the inmates, joined by their family and friends, came together to celebrate what is to them a new beginning.
Within the command
It was a day of celebration at the Kamiti Maximum Prison as 40 inmates who had undertaken a diploma in theological studies donned caps and gowns for their graduation. Even though they have been cut away from the rest of the world, it has not stopped them from striving to be on the same level with those that are free. Pastor Karaoke, who took the prisoners through the course, hopes it will help transform their lives in prison.
Let it work first, because if you're not careful, you can have a chain of degrees also, but it must translate into some aspect of work on the ground.
Happy faces drawn from two different worlds come together on this big day. For Valentine Mwawasi, who is serving a death sentence, getting this diploma was not a walk in the park, but he says it was all worth it.
Environment is not conducive for learning, for studies, but through all that, God has enabled me and my fellow graduates. We have graduated today.
He says the diploma has helped him find a purpose, and now he wants to help others find theirs.
For sure, the gates are already open in the spiritual eyes, in the spiritual sphere. It is only awaiting for the physical sphere to be manifested so that we can go out, and many I know will receive Christ because of that.
The inmates entertain their visitors with song and dance and with their unique talent. Despite being locked up, the pride of donning this graduation outfit may be the only common denominator with other students in the outside world. The acquisition of the diploma comes with a sense of pride to the inmates, majority of whom now say they would like to be preachers.
Practice that which you've learned.
Right, so that has been Anyango, the Diva, the Nyatitit Diva.
Thank you.
How do you think you did in reading the news? Umefanyaje? Unaona umefanyaje?
Hiyo ni tofauti kabisa.
Tofauti kabisa. Nitampatia 5 out of 10. I'll give you 5 out of 10. That's not bad.
Okay, that's not bad.
That's not bad. Okay, fine. So if you want to tell us, what you think of Anyango, the hashtag is Friday Briefing.
We start with the inflation numbers. Falling electricity, food and fuel costs have seen the cost of living marginally drop, with November's inflation rate decreasing to 6.9%. Data from the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics indicate that the fall in energy prices is attributable to a decrease in the cost of electricity, kerosene and LPG. Inflation in October stood at 6.34%, with a drop likely to be welcome relief for many Kenyans. Let's now switch over to tourism. Tourism at the coast has had a tough time this year, with occupancy down to 10%. Investors in the sector are feeling the heat, but in what might be a turnaround strategy for the sector. Investors are now coming up with apartment housing solutions, which they hope will entice tourists. And as Charles Gitonga reports, the apartment route also investors will be keen to tap into.
Necessity, they say, is the mother of all invention, and down at the coast of Kenya, hotel investors have had to adopt innovative thinking to keep business alive. Unlike a few years ago where guests on holiday would be confined within a hotel room, today it is possible to have their privacy and some sort of security in an apartment as they summer their holiday away. The trend, which is now catching momentum in Kenya, is said to be an excellent alternative accommodation for tourists, and it's winning hearts of many.
In tourism, we deal with a very sophisticated client whose, over time, the expectations keep changing. And so with that change, there's demand created, and that has led to the increase of the many apartments that we're seeing, particularly.
Tourism properties and accommodation facilities in Kenya remains a least explored area of business, but with hotels, resorts and lodges fetching fewer guests, it is now a necessity. One of the investors in this new area, Sunset Paradise Holiday Homes, has invested 400 million shillings in this new venture.
People are going for something new in the market. They feel that hotels are a bit tired because some of the hotels were built long way back in 1970s, early 70s up to now. What they do are just renovations, and most of the apartments are being built as per the market survey which has been carried out and what the clients prefer.
The wave of insecurity that Kenya has been experiencing has snatched the tourism industry of its international guests who drive the business. During a high season like the one we are in now, hotel occupancy in Mombasa should be at 70%, but this is not the case. It is only at 35% this year, with hotels in Kilifi being at 20% and 18% for those in Kwale. Are things any better in the tourism apartments side?
I have currently 68 days bed nights booked. So all the 10 apartments are fully booked, and I'm booking people from maybe 5th to 10th there, because from 11th on, I'm fully booked the apartments which are available.
You're able to take a whole apartment and come in with your family and friends, be able to entertain yourself. These are some of the freedoms that probably people might not be able to experience when they have a paid-for hotel room.
On the broader spectrum of things, such investments are expected to improve capacity for conference tourism in the coast region, since spillover guests will get quality alternative accommodation.
It is that we have a big conference today of, say, 2,000, 3,000 people. We might not be able to have enough beds to be able to accommodate them in the conventional hotels as they are structured.
This new wave of investment might just wipe out the fears of hoteliers and tour operators who until this moment believe business in the region might not recover until 2018, with insecurity still being a challenge and general elections coming up in 3 years. Charles Gitonga, KTN.
Many thanks, Charles, for that report. The Geothermal Development Company has handed over 3 power plant sites to independent power producers for the production of 105 megawatts of power. Construction of the power plants, expected to cost 18.9 billion shillings, is likely to be completed by early 2016, setting the government on track to meeting its 5,000 megawatts target. The firms Socian Energy, Quantum, East Africa, and All Power 22 will take charge of the sites and will build, operate and own the power plants. In Menengai alone, GDC has mined steam equivalent to 110 megawatts, which is enough for the first phase of the Menengai project. In total, GDC has more than 500 megawatts of steam in both Menengai and Olkaria from a total of 85 geothermal wells. Nixon Sigei has been appointed as the Managing Director of Milk Processor New Kenya Cooperative Creameries on a 3-year term. Sigei replaces Dr. Kirui Langat, who had his term revoked by Industrialization Cabinet Secretary Aidan Mohamed 3 months ago, ahead of time. Dr. Langat took over at New KCC in 2011, but had his term extended by 12 months last year as the board looked for a substantive replacement. Sigei takes over at the country's second largest milk processor by market share at a time the company is lined up for privatization. The Privatization Commission is working on the sale of New KCC, with the government keen to offer farmers a 42% stake, employees 4%, while 42% is to be floated at the Nairobi bows. The government is interested in retaining a 20% stake. Access Kenya is positioning itself to play big in the data storage business. The firm is expanding its business by adopting the latest cloud computing platforms to have a slice of the corporate sector. This will see the company diversify away from home and small office internet markets by tapping into the new opportunities in the mid-tier and high-end enterprise markets.
By having stuff on the cloud, you suddenly can be able to access information from anywhere you are on the globe. So increasing collaboration, sharing of information and access to critical data, and also being able to store your data in a secure environment so that whatever impacts your physical location does not impact on your business operations. So you are seeing companies begin to invest more in IT resources and in services that are going to take away the high capital expenditure cost from the business, so it can be able to focus on its core function and instead pass that cost on to the service provider.
Pediatrician, 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 Mediterranean,
Pediatrician.
Pediatrician. Pediatrician.
Pediatrician.
Pediatrician.
Pediatrician. Pediatrician.
Pediatrician. Pediatrician.
Pediatrician. Pediatrician. Pediatrician. Pediatrician.
Pediatrician. Pediatrician.
Well, it's that time that we cross over to Kisumu County for a favorite here on Friday Briefing. That's Mind Your Language with none other than Willis, the Word Master. Willis, great to see you this Friday evening. How are you doing?
I'm doing good, and what a coincidence. Red and red, Betty.
I know, right? I'm sure we look good. We'll ask the viewers to tell us that. Willis, let's go straight to our first word. Now, you've had our Kenyans there on Word on the Street. That word, meaning a baby's doctor. Is it pediatrician, pediatrician? Which is which, Willis?
Betty, we say pediatrician.
What?
Pediatrician, not pie, not pear, and all that. Pediatrician. So, letter A and E combine to form the vowel sound E, P, not pie, P, pediatrician. Just like we talk of pediatric, and we have pedophile, not pedophile, not pediatric.
Okay.
So we call that one a vowel digraph.
All right, diagraph. I like those words, Willis. So pediatrician, that's
Digraph.
right? Digraph. Willis.
Pediatrician.
Pediatrician,
Yes.
got it. Willis, let's move on to our second one. You know, you never cease to amaze. Do we say retrogressive or retrogressive when we want to mean a less advanced stage behavior? Is it retro or retro?
What is important for us to understand or to know is the prefix is retro. Retro. So we say retrogressive. Retrogressive, not retrogressive. Just like we talk about retroactive or retrospective, not retro. So it's re, not re.
All right, got that one, Willis. Moving on to our next one. Do you say presume or presume, presumably, presumably? This also gives people a couple of problems.
We say presume, presume, to presume. Just like we talk of to resume, that is the verb. Resume, presume. Remember, we also have assume and consume. But in presume, you realize we are using the voice or the sound z, z.
Yes.
That is a voiced sound z. Presume.
All right, Willis. You know, there are people who say presume. But, you know, maybe the tongue is heavy. Maybe the tongue is heavy. Let's move on, Willis, to another one. Now, we have this, you know, group of plants. Do we say legumes, legumes, legumes? Which is which, Willis?
That word has two acceptable pronunciations when we talk of RP, that is received pronunciation.
Okay.
You'd talk of legumes or legumes. Legumes or legumes. But the adjective is strictly leguminous. Leguminous.
Leguminous. That will help, you know, students, especially in primary school. So it's leguminous. Got that one, Willis. Moving on to another one. Do we say geothermal power, geothermal? Is it geography, geography? Which is which?
Betty, your word is geothermal. Geothermal. We have the glide EO, which I normally call, or I usually call, diphthong. Dual vowel glide. Geothermal, just like geometric or geochemical, geography. We don't say geography and all that.
Okay, Willis. So it's geothermal. Got that one. Now we have another word meaning an association, you know, typically that comprises of several different companies. Is it a consortium, consortium? Which is which?
In that word, Betty, letter T takes sound T, not sound sh. We just say a consortium, not consortium.
Okay.
It's tiam. Yes.
Tiam, consortium. All right, Willis. Now, this other one we use quite a lot. Do we say paper or paper? I was having an argument with a couple of friends saying paper. Were they right or I was wrong?
Are you talking of the Kiswahili word karatasi?
Yes, Willis, karatasi. Karatasi ya kuandikia, is it? Paper or paper?
You have the glide A, that is the slight vowel glide A when you pronounce that word. You say paper, that is P-A-P-E-R. But remember we have ginger or pepper, P-E, double P-E-R. That one has a pure or short vowel sound A. You just say pepper. Pili-pili, pepper. Karatasi, paper.
Paper.
A bit tricky.
Willis, quickly, let's move on to your surprise word, Willis.
Well, tonight, Betty, some friend called Gerald Omondi asked me, when we talk of a legal agreement or a promise to somebody, do we say covenant or covenant?
Yes.
Many people say covenant.
Yes,
covenant, which is wrong. We say ka. Letter O takes the mid-central vowel sound as covenant. Covenant.
Always a pleasure having Willis, the word master, on the show. Willis, have a great weekend.
You too, Betty, and always it's my pleasure to enjoy what we call the English or acceptable English pronunciations. Bye for now, dear sister.
All right, bye for now, dear brother. Willis, the word master there, coming to us from Kisumu County with Mind Your Language. Well, that has been, that favorite segment right here on Friday Briefing.
Now, starting us off, the Kenya Volleyball Federation's league defending champions, the General Service Unit, had to dig deep before seeing off Kenya Defence Forces 3-2 in the opening match of the National League playoffs in Mombasa. In another tie, Prisons Men's defeated Cooperative Bank 3-1.
KDF were determined to give the defending champions a run for their money as they scared the dreaded GSU in a battle that lasted over 2 hours at the Makande Gymnasium in Mombasa. The title holders were quick off the blocks, winning the first set 25-23 in 23 minutes. KDF were undone by the attacks as Elisha Aliwo impressed displays. Take two. KDF were undone by the attacks as Elisha Aliwo impressive displays helped KDF to win the second and third sets 25-22 and 30-28 respectively. That rattled the Thika Road Best side, who responded with the lethal attacks that handed them their second set win for a 2-2 set score and forced their game into a tiebreaker. GSU's experience paid off as they wrapped up the set with a 15-13 victory, giving them a hard-earned 3-2 victory. Earlier in the day, Prisons Kenya suffered a scare as they lost the first set of the opening match to Cooperative Bank 25-20. The Warders' prowess played out in the second set as they beat the Bankers 25-18. The Bankers came back in the third set determined to win, but their ambitions were shattered as they suffered a 30-28 loss in the subsequent set. The fourth set seemed one-sided as Prisons strolled through, eclipsing the Bankers by 10 points to win 25-15.
The Kenya Premier League Governing Council has reaffirmed its position on the number of Premier League clubs next season. 15 out of 16 clubs' chairmen repeated their refusal to accept the Football Kenya Federation's proposal of an 18-team Kenyan Premier League.
There are also clear provisions of law on what is to be done when there is a stalemate. We will not resort to any underhand or any illegal means to deal with this issue.
Rachier KPL Chief Executive Officer Jack Oguda are just back from South Africa, where it is believed they met sponsors SuperSport. The outcome of that meeting, sources say, will be known early next week, though it is believed SuperSport will not dance to FKF's tune of 18 teams.
Tuliamua ya kwamba swala lipitishwe kwenye kamati ndogo ya ambayo inaweza kutupatia mawaidha au njia suluhu juu ya nambari ya vilabu.
FKF promoted Nakumatt FC, Kakamega Homeboys, Rangers FC and Shabana after relegation of Nakuru All Stars and City Stars.
Kila mwaka tunapandisha timu mbili, na sio sisi, uamuzi unatokana na Super League. We are not saying anything about the National Super League. We are not saying anything about the other organization. They are the umbrella body. We are only talking about matters which affect us. And if we express a contrary opinion, we are not opening a war.
Victor Ogale, KTN Sports.
From soccer to matter athletics. Athletes who are and have been unable to access the Nyayo or Kasarani Stadium now have a choice of another privately owned tartan track. James International School laid a 400 meters tartan track around their artificial field. The chairman of the National Olympic Committee, Dr. Kipchoge Keino, and world 1500 meters champion Asbel Kiprop opened the track today. Games International School, located along Magadi Road, Kipchoge Keino lauded the school's management for investing in modern track, since it will enable pupils and students in the school to discover and advance their running skills.
Well, we're just about to wind up KTN Friday briefing, but before then, let's review our big question tonight. And if you remember, it was in regard to the suspension of Nazigi Seko over the stripping and sexual assault incident that took place in one of the vehicles. And that was the question right there on the screen. Did you support the suspension of the licenses of the 243 vehicles over stripping? And there you have it. 47% say yes, and 53% say no, they do not support that particular suspension. Let me sample one or two messages here. Gideon Mwasia says, yes, I'm supporting the revocation of that sucker's license by the government, because nobody is allowed to violate other people's rights. Another yes here. Do those stouts and drivers have wives and mothers and sisters? They belong behind bars to be a lesson to others of similar conduct and thoughts. One no here. Abu says, nope, that is collective punishment. Touts, drivers and etc. have families too. Also, someone here says, no, they should suspend the offenders. Why the whole fleet of vehicles? It's not fair. Well, those are your opinions, and thank you very much for participating on our big question tonight. But before we wind up, let me bring in the lovely Anyango. Anyango, the Nyatitit Diva. Anyango, now you have Twitter, social media, people at home are literally swoon over you. They've enjoyed the music, and they're really impressed that you know how to play the Nyatitit, how to speak Swahili, and how to speak and sing in Luo. Yeah? So congratulations for that.
Thank you so much. Arigato.
Arigato. All right. So now let's talk about very briefly about your concert tomorrow.
Yes. Actually, tomorrow, 29th, we're going to have a concert at Nairobi Go Down Arts Center from 3 p.m.
Yes, from 3 p.m.
Yes, from
at
3
the Go
p.m.
Down Arts Center.
Yes.
All right, great. So you can catch or you can meet up with Anyango tomorrow at 3 p.m. at the Go Down Arts Center. The entry is free.
Yes, entrance is free.
Entry is free.
Please overcome.
Yeah, come and listen to her and play her Nyatitit songs. Masaya, thank you very much for coming.
Thank you very much.
It was mzuri sana. It was great having you. Unacheza ngoma vizuri sana.
Nashukuru sana.
Asante. All right, so now we can wind up with Anyango and myself with a little bit of tunes from them. Thank you very much for watching Friday Briefing.
Moja, mbili, tatu, ine. Kodo bea kora, kodo ina